I'm going to try to do some Bigfoot stuff and some UFO stuff, because I did say last podcast that I had a new book called Mysteries of Georgia's Military Bases. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to peruse this, and I was going to come back. I was going to report to you people about some of the things I found in this book.
Yes, but you fell through once again on all your promises.
That is correct, Joe. But that will not... I've actually perused through this. There are some more interesting accounts in different military bases. Some military bases only have ghosts and paranormal and apparitions. Some have much more obvious UFO encounters. And then there's a few that have multiple cases of UFO, Sasquatch, and apparitions as well. This is not a huge book. I definitely recommend people buy. You can pick it up for I believe $16 on Amazon. Full color. It's a good looking book. I tell you what, if you want to read something while you're in the bathroom, pick up this book. It is well worth your time and money. Now, one of the topics that I brought up to Seth in the interview when we're talking about the invasion on Chestnut Ridge was the military aspect of, does the military even acknowledge Bigfoot or Sasquatch? He was of the opinion that they really don't care, or they really don't know.
We always talk about the possibility of Bigfoot or cryptids being sentries or scouts or something. We've talked about that a lot.
Scouts for the aliens or UFOs or boots on the ground, possibly even genetic experiments. Clown Baby and I read a story of an invisible Bigfoot out there, I think on the West Coast at some lab. You remember what laboratory that was, Clown Baby?
Probably Lawrence Livermore.
Yeah, Lawrence Livermore Labs, invisible Bigfoot. And that goes into like transdimensional, interdimensional kind of stuff, invisible creatures as well.
Well, and Seth even talked about the ball going into one dimension from another, and one kind of cryptid carrying it around and stuff. So,
yeah. So I'm always fascinated when the military gets involved, because that's where like the paranormal and conspiracy directly, intersects with military and political power. Because once Roswell was taken into the Roswell crash, the extraterrestrial crash was taken into custody of the military. Well, politics got involved. What were they going to do? So that maybe launched Majestic 12, and then that had a whole bunch of set of policies that, if you believe that an alien craft crashed there, that has affected policy from research and development of certain technologies to how we even are open and honest with the public about the possibility of alien life on this earth. So I like that intersection of politics and the paranormal. And that's why this book, Mysteries of Georgia's Military Bases, is so fascinating. And I'm not getting paid by these people. Clown Baby.
Only we were.
No shit.
Nobody's accusing you, but now that you've said it,
it's becoming a little obvious. I just like the concept. So what I'll pick out a few paragraphs here and try to glance at them and tell you about what I see. So one of the bases and forts that I came across was Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield. Now this is all from the state you were in, Joe, Georgia. This whole book is about Georgia.
It's funny. The whole audio just cut out right there.
Oh, for me to you?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything you said.
Oh. I could hear you.
Oh, see, Joe, Whoa. You got some stream problems. Your stream is not as powerful and pronounced as mine.
I have a narrow urethra.
Yes. But anyways, Fort Stewart originated in 1940 as an anti-aircraft training center during World War II. It contained 2 POW camps for captured Axis soldiers, schools for cooks, bakers, and postal personnel. By 1944, the base held 55,000 soldiers, most of whom participated in the invasion of France. So it's a long and storied history there for Fort Stewart and the Hunter Army Airfield Base. Now, there's in this section of the book, there's quite an extensive catalog of ghost stories, which I won't go into. Maybe at a later date, I'll talk about them. A lot of people do ask us to talk about the paranormal and ghosts and apparitions. It's just something we don't often talk about on this podcast for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess
the ghost thing. I don't think you guys are even into the ghosts. No,
I talk about it every now and again, but
we've talked about it a few times. Yeah,
but it's just not something we're like. It's a hard one to do.
What ruined it for me was all those goddamn ghost hunter movies on like TLC and the Travel Channel.
Yeah. And the Learning Channel. We're learning about a bunch of LARPers with these fucking, whatever, the Ghostbuster tools out there.
I don't know. Like, I guess maybe the ghost hunters on sci-fi kind of ruined it for me. We talked about the series Killing Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. I guess I don't know why that didn't turn me off to talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch as opposed to apparitions and ghosts and poltergeists. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's not something we often talk about. But I'll move on when concerning the Fort Stewart encounters when it comes to UFOs. And so what happened at this base in 1962 or 1963, and witnesses reported an encounter. It was a Saturday, and a boy's family had reported seeing something near a Savannah shopping center, and it was around 9 p.m., and a boy and his brother and other kids played a game, and while they ripped up pieces of paper and placed them between Mickey's ears, it was a balloon, it was Mickey Mouse, they let the balloon float, secure with a kite string above the street lights. At that point, the string was jerked vigorously as the paper floated down. The boys raced to collect them, and the child with the most pieces won. Wow, what a stupid fucking game these guys are playing.
Get a PlayStation.
Well, this is 1962 or 1963, Joe.
Figure it out.
They didn't even have Pong. On the ground, 2 or 3 of the luminous discs about the size of a car suddenly appeared and then zigzagged half a dozen times above the streetlight, first side to side, then back and forth in a cross-like pattern, alternating aggressively, apparently while the kids were scrutinizing the balloon. Every kid was transfixed by the UFO, and the papers floated to Earth unnoticed. The papers from the balloon went unnoticed. And then suddenly, just as suddenly as the UFOs appeared, they disappeared. The boys scrambled to collect the paper, hoisted Mickey up again, and jerked the string, and almost the exact same thing happened again. Except instead of disappearing, the UFOs took off in a straight line, slow enough that they could be tracked. The UFO had been silent, and all the kids saw was the bottom. It was described as incredibly zippy in motion and glowing silvery amber. By the time the adults were summoned, the UFO was almost among the stars. And that came from near the Fort Stewart in Hunter Army Airfield Base. I don't know. It's kind of hard to take the eyewitness testimony of kids playing a balloon game serious, Joe.
I think, yeah, this is kind of where I'm going. It's like, we're going with 60, 70-year-old stories of kids playing some dipshit game. They probably lying about that. They broke something, didn't they?
Well, it's tough. It's near. So what I was hoping for in this is that there would be some sort of radar confirmation that they saw something that says it was near an army base. And in this section of the book, I did not get that. And so I'm kind of bringing that up. Like you'd expect near an army base, an airfield, they should have radar to.
Yeah.
And there should be some kind of.
When does like some good soldier or somebody could report to the newspaper? Yeah, we did this, we did that, something like that.
Yeah. I don't have that in this exact story. But I'll move on to Bigfoot. Fort Stewart, located north of Savannah and 30 miles east of the Atlantic Ocean, is a 280,000 acre training base for armor, the largest facility east of the Mississippi River. The base is 39 miles east to west and 19 miles north to south, occupying portions of 5 Georgia counties. Much of the military installation consists of swamp and piney woods, perfect habitat for many animals, including Bigfoot. So this is a Bigfoot case.
Well,
What's that, Cloud Baby?
If it was a swamp, it'd be more likely to be the skunk ape, but I think that's the swamp version of the Bigfoot. Could just be the same creature or different
Tomato,
subspecies,
penis cock, pussy vagina, any which way you want to call it. It's all the same to me.
Dildo butt plug, mm-hmm.
Exactly, Joe. All right, there you go. Yay! He's a man.
Don't want to be splitting dildos here.
No.
Unless you got a double ender.
So here's
make those.
Here's a Bigfoot case from the Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield base. At dusk one day in December 1995, Army Sergeant R.B., 2 other squad leaders, and 2 privates started out on a reconnaissance mission to locate a second unit stationed several miles away. They were at Fort Stewart's western perimeter and a roadless, uninhabited, and remote part of the enormous military reservation, an area with deep swamp and some higher ground covered with pine trees. There was a full moon, and despite mist, visibility was good. Consulting a map and compass, the group decided to advance through several hundred meters of swamp, believing that no one would expect them to take that route. They exited a swamp at 11 p.m., with 40 yards to the fort's border, a mile distance from the opposing force. They're probably in some kind of military training exercise, Clown Baby. That's what they're getting at here. After leaving the swamp, we could hear something or someone following us, Sergeant R.B. wrote. They considered it to be their instructors, but concluded that they would not have taken the swamp route, and no one knew their path. Although we didn't see it, it was easily within 25 yards. It would come up behind us. At the point that they thought that they would be able to see who was trailing them, it would cut off to the right or left, go around us, fade off, and then we would hear it coming again. This went on for 10 or 15 minutes. The 5 soldiers made a plan for revealing the wily follower. 2 of them, Sergeant W. and Private P., remained still while the other 3 moved forward slowly. The other team would then move out. To their amazement, this triggered a complex maneuver by their swamp watcher. The thing started weaving in and out of the 2 groups like a figure 8, Sergeant R.B. reported, and then none of them could hear it. When the soldiers united several hundred yards later, the following group reported that the same pattern, that it came between the 2 groups around them toward us like it knew exactly where we were, even though we couldn't see it. When the opposing force was 400 meters, about 1,300 feet distance, the 5 men established a patrol base and split into 2 groups. The first team, with Sergeant R.B. and Sergeant H., went out for several hours, and upon return, 2 of the others would be sent out on patrol. The first team advanced 200 meters, about 650 feet, and heard something following them again. The men got more into the open area and laid down facing the direction of the noise. With no one to track, the skulker apparently became frustrated. After 5 minutes, all of a sudden, the scream roar came out of the darkness. We looked at each other and said, "What the hell was that?" Neither had ever heard such a sound. A minute later, it screamed again. And then we heard what sounded like a huge rotten tree falling and brush breaking. They heard a very large something running off, obviously on 2 legs, and a strange episode was concluded at 3 a.m.
On the dot?
Yes. Yeah. Somewhere
Precisely.
about, it may have been like 2:57 a.m.
It's with a little, yeah.
I like those military encounters.
Yeah, they're probably some of the more interesting ones, especially when more than one person sees it.
And
that would be key as hell too to hear that kind of shit.
and then
After
like
seeing-
perform some kind of maneuvers. Okay, let's see who might be following us. We'll split up into groups, and we'll see. But no, this thing was kind of weaving in and out of them without being seen. Interesting shit. And I didn't even. That book is full of stories like that. Maybe I'll read one in another podcast. Glance. I'll glance at it. But I like that stuff. I like military interaction with these weird and strange creatures because so for whatever reason, it gives me a little bit of extra validity to the phenomenon. I like that. I like these trained people who want to kill. They love to track. They want to protect this country, and they're forced into a situation, or this happened to be in a situation where they're interacting with these strange entities. Bizarre.
Have we found out if any of these entities like carrots? Because I think I know somebody who would be good at tracking these fuckers down.
To our knowledge, Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they're not big carrot people. Not to my knowledge. But I know what you're getting at, Joe. The snowman would be pretty good at tracking these motherfuckers down.
Just have to carry a different vegetable or something around. Maybe a fucking Arby's, sandwich. Because
tying onion to your belt.
These goddamn Bigfoot don't have money. No. They ain't buying Arby's sandwiches.
No, they can't afford that kind of stuff. I mean, that's some prime beef. That's some prime roast.
It is.
Oh, okay. We should probably move on, possibly to some other segments here, please.
Nothing else happening.